Page 16, Articulation Activation. There are 3 workouts here. I'm going to cover all 3 of them in this video. Toward the top of the page, they're listing different types of articulation marks. Articulation is kind of, I don't know how to describe it exactly. It's sort of how you play it. I'm not talking technique on how you play it, just how you interpret the note, sort of. The first one they give is legato. Legato simply means the notes are connected. Legato is what we've been doing for the most part all along. Legato, generally, it could be indicated with that curved line above or below the notes, or there may not be anything. That's a little bit about interpretation and how music has evolved over the years, because today, most of the time, if you have a bunch of notes and there's no indication, no slurred line or anything, you would typically play them connected. A long time ago, hundreds of years ago, the style was if there was no indication for the notes, you would play them slightly disconnected. That's just one example of how music has evolved. And there's a difference of opinion on it. There's a difference of opinion on everything in music. So, one teacher will teach one thing and another teacher will teach another. The second thing is staccato. The staccato are those little dots above or below a note, indicating that it is not legato. Because there are different kinds of staccato. You have long staccato and short staccato, and technically it's either legato or it's staccato. Take your choice. If it's not connected, it's staccato. Unless it's a rest that's causing the not connected. But you can connect a note to a rest. The third one are the accents. Now there's different kinds of accents. Can we make this any more complicated? Oh yeah, we can. So the 2 symbols they're showing here are the sideways arrow. That's the typical normal accent you'll get most of the time. And the other one is the little caret thing, the little upwards arrow. That is a little stronger accent than just a regular accent. Now we have a little problem in piano because a piano can't do a true accent, because the accent really only applies to the beginning of the note, or to the attack on the note. So it's ba, and then you'd come off to the regular one. So the accent is only, well, on a piano we can't control that. All we can do is play it, and the piano takes over. So we just play it with a little more force, or a little more force, depending on which type of accents you're talking about. And that's the best we can do. I call it, give it a little extra oomph. It's an interpretive thing. We'll get into it. The next one is what's known as a sforzando. Could be sforzato. They're different words. They've used different, okay. FSZ or FS, or it means a very strong accent, really. It's a serious boom, but don't get vulgar with it. We don't want it to get unmusical. It's got to be a musical boom. And then the last one they give is called a tunuto, and it's a little line above or below a note. And they're saying it's with weight. Again, people don't agree. I was never taught, so far as I can remember, and all the teachers I've had 5 concert pianist teachers. I was never taught that a tunuto had indicated weight, or that you would play it with any more force than normal. All I was taught was you held it out as long as you possibly could. It was a really important note. So maybe because of the importance of the note, you might give it a little extra weight, I'm not sure. But some method books actually teach tunuto is a type of accent. And I don't teach that, but your teacher might. Yeah. It's just, for me, you hold it out as long as possible. And if there's a rest after it, you hold it out just a hair longer into the rest, just a little bit. Just linger on that note a little bit. Now there's 3 lines of music here, or 3 things of music. The first one is where you can practice legato and staccato. Now I prefer that you use the scales. Now this is a C major scale. It's a 2-octave scale, and that's fine if you happen to be able to play a C major scale for 2 octaves in parallel, that's the hands together, and in contrary motion where the hands are going apart. I don't cover this contrary thing until the advanced portion of my scale videos. I cover that in there. Until then, I stick with the parallel thing. You see, the idea with these practicing articulation is you want to be able to focus on the articulation and not the notes. So what you're playing has to be simple enough to you that you're not going to be focused on the notes. So if you want to try this C major scale 2 octaves up, that's fine, one hand at a time until you can get it, and then 2, and I strongly encourage you to use a metronome when you do this. But this is the fingering 4th. They're telling you where to put the thumbs, and everything else kind of falls in place. And you practice, you play one time legato, and the speed is up to you. I'll play it a little faster to make the video shorter, but the speed is legato. All connected type thing. And then you practice it staccato, and just a short staccato. And which technique you use is up to your teacher. They'll tell you that I would use different techniques, therefore I would have to practice it multiple times with each technique. So I'm getting a type thing. And then maybe one hand legato and one hand staccato. That's the challenge. Type thing. Or then vice versa. Then the other hand. You get the idea? So you practice. I use the scales and arpeggios to practice all of these technical things. I don't use actual warm-up exercises. I use scales and arpeggios as my warm-up exercises. That's my approach, and that's what I taught my students. However, there's nothing wrong with these warm-up exercises. These are fine. So that's the staccato and legato. Now on the articulation workout, the second one, they're putting in accents and staccatos. And the accents, you see, pretty much are on the half notes. Give it a little extra oomph, just a little extra. And then the staccatos for the quarter notes. And the last measure there, the whole note, that's a sforzando. That's a major accent. So that's loud. I get a kick out of them sometimes because they'll give you a sforzando in some pieces and they'll put an accent on the note. I mean, that's an overkill. You don't need an accented sforzando. Sforzando is about as accented as you can get. So, and they do it on other things too. Then I'll point them out when we get there. It's just, what? What are they thinking? It makes sense for other instruments, but not for piano. Then the last one is this rocking thing where they have couplet slurs. Well, on a 2-note slur, a couplet, couple, two, one, it's a down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. It's here. And then the other hand. Well, I could practice the scales doing that. You know, anything that all this technical stuff they want to do, I can do with scales, is what I'm saying. And so I'll leave these up to you to work on your own. This is a kind of thing when you sit down to practice, you do this kind of thing first. You just kind of get in the mindset and the fingers are working and everything, and okay, and then you can start your pieces. Now I'm not going to go over these. Hopefully you can do these. If you have questions, you're welcome to ask. As far as how fast you go, again, you go slow and with a metronome, and then over time you can speed them up, because speed is not what you're after. Speed is a killer on this stuff. Keep it slow enough that you can focus on the articulation and the down-up slurring things that you're getting into. Now I will mention on 2-note slurs, some teachers teach that on a 2-note slur you play the second note staccato. You go down, up. I don't teach that, but if your teacher does, that's up to them. In my mind, it is sort of staccato because you're going to disconnect it from the next note, and in that sense it's staccato, but it's not short, unless there's a staccato dot on that note, and there is sometimes. As far as the fingering goes, try different fingerings. They're suggesting a fingering, but you can alter that. Really, you can. It's okay. I don't mind. And that's pretty much all I have to say for page 16. We will be using these in the pieces, and I will bring them out or talk about them when we get to them in the pieces, because it might be different for different pieces on exactly how you're doing, what you're doing, whatever.